Hello, everyone, and welcome to the day 3 of the classes of the LAMRIM 43, The Magic of Empty Meditations. My name is Tatiana Kondruchina, and I will be your host for today. I have been a volunteer for Asian Classics Institute and other worldview organizations since 2018. And for more than 1 year, I helped also manage the Russian-speaking Gold Club. And my journey for the ACI home office started with the LAMRIM in Bali at the end of 2019. And since then, I have been organizing international ACI events together with my beautiful colleagues who you saw opening the sessions the first 2 days, and who will be opening them tomorrow and the days after. And today we continue the study of the steps on the path. I'm very honored to invite our precious teacher, Geshe Roach, who will continue teaching us on the 2 beautiful meditation practices of our tradition: exchanging self and others and Tonglen. These meditations are designed to help us develop a deep experience of compassion and love. Enjoy your class.
Hi, welcome back. Thank you for the introduction. It was very nice. And welcome back to the 3rd day. I'd like to start with you guys can get ready. Okay, first I'd like you to follow your breath. Focus on the exhale first and then on the inhale. We'll take about 30 breaths. Just relax. Relax your face, very important, especially your mouth and your eyelids. Tighten your abdomen slightly, especially the lower part, but not too tight. Keep your hands soft. And push back your shoulders. Stay very aware of the exhales. Now on the exhale, I'd like you to exhale from your right nostril. So that's the beginning of the breath. At the start of your breath, you exhale from the right nostril. And then the air circles around and comes into your left nostril. So I'd like you to take 30 breaths, exhaling from your right nostril and inhaling from your left nostril. 30 breaths. If one of your nostrils is blocked, just imagine that the breath is going that way. If both of your nostrils are blocked, you can breathe through your mouth, but just imagine that the breath is exhaling from your right nostril and coming in through your left nostril. Very long exhales until the lower abdomen tightens on the exhale. So you might have to almost exhale twice, push out a second, more conscious exhale from the right nostril. Personally, I like to keep my drishti, my gaze of my eyes, even though my eyes are closed, I like to keep the gaze up at the horizon. So my eyes are looking slightly over the horizon, even though my eyelids are closed. And then that keeps your head from nodding down when you're watching your breath. Now I'd like you to think of one interaction you had yesterday or this morning with another person. When did you meet someone? When did you talk to someone yesterday? Or if you didn't meet anyone yesterday, then the day before. One interaction you had with another person. Then I'd like you to recall, why did you meet them? What were you meeting them for? Why did you meet the other person? What were you hoping to achieve? Maybe it was just a few minutes talk or catch up with them, or why did you interact with another person? By the way, it could be online also or on your phone. And then I'd like you to think about, why did they meet with you? What were they trying to get out of interacting with you? When they spoke to you, there must be some need or something they want out of talking to me. What was it that they wanted? What was their hope for that interaction? And lastly, how did they see you? If you put yourself in their body, and remember that interaction you had, how do you think you look to them? I don't mean your appearance necessarily. I mean the way you were acting and the way you were speaking, the feeling they got about how you are thinking about them. If you go from the mountain of your body and cross over to the mountain of their body and look back at your mountain, how do you look to them? How kind were you? How thoughtful were you in the interaction? How did you feel to them? Actually, pretend you're looking at you yesterday from their eyes. And then please come back to your breath. Again, exhales from the right nostril and inhales through the left nostril, even if it's only imaginary. Keep your gaze on the horizon, even though your eyes are closed. And then please open your eyes and take a stretch. Drink something, especially if you're at Diamond Mountain. Keep drinking, okay? You guys guys were supposed to meditate yesterday about people who are your bosses and people who are your colleagues and people who are your employees or report to you. Would anybody like to share how it felt or any observations? Yeah. Oh, and specifically, what emotion did you feel in the three cases? Okay. Was there a pattern where you tend to feel the same emotion for your boss, and then you tend to feel the same, a typical emotion for somebody who works for you?
Yeah. Okay. I loved this one. This is amazing. Just because I felt like the applications, like not just personally, but professionally, just are so remarkable. And I thought about this all night, how like when we're a team, we're attempting to have like a common goal. And so oftentimes in like leadership, for example, we're trying to get your team on board. And so for me to put myself in like my colleagues' shoes, what? Oh, sorry. My colleagues' shoes, it allowed me to sort of look at, like, for example, my colleagues are beginning to change, and so how can I help them? I guess, you know, when they were looking at, I guess me, it's hard to explain, I guess, but I'm in my colleagues' shoes looking at me.
Yeah.
And so it made me shift how I could help them, I guess, you know, and it put me into more of a state of service, like mentally, like how can I take away something off of their plate in order to sort of have the bigger picture of being successful. And so in each case, I found myself kind of looking at, like, as a person, how can I look at me? So confusing. Like, for example, like when I did the boss last night, the difference or the flavor between the colleague and the boss were slightly different. In the colleague's sense, I was, how can I take a little bit off of their plate? And then in the boss's sense, the feeling was more like, how can I help? Similar, how can I act a little bit better in order, I don't know, it was almost like just relax a little bit. You know, like I found myself trying to sort of like, how do I, and not trying so hard with the boss, I guess was the harder one, because I found myself trying to like relax a little bit in order to serve them, really is what it came down to. And then in the lower one, for example, how can I sort of help them? How can I see the world from their point of view and maybe make them relax a little bit? So it was really beautiful. I just enjoyed it a lot. So
good. Somebody else? By the way, when you're translating Shantideva, this section, it's extremely difficult. And what I ended up doing was me as the boss, me as me as the employee. So you have to use as to make clear which me you're talking about. It gets confusing. So in the translation, and by the way, I think Shantideva does it on purpose because it gets very confusing who's me. And so it's helpful in your own mind to say me as the boss looking at me as me, you know, how does that feel? And so I'm just, that's something you might want to try when you're meditating on it or when you're describing it to your friends. Okay, Ili.
I have done
Talk
this.
loud.
I have done this meditation.
Every time you breathe, pause.
I have done this meditation like 4 years ago, so I had some experience with it. And the first thing I've realized is that a lot has changed since the first time that I've done these meditations and now. One of my conclusions in the past was that envy feels like hatred when you are on the other side. And this meditation yesterday, it was about, for me, it was about jealousy at the same level with the colleagues. And when I exchanged myself with the other person, I felt like I'm surrounded by thieves. So jealousy is being felt like you are surrounded by thieves. By thieves that want to grab what you have.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. So the emotion was
Jealousy. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is my.
I'm interested in the emotion. Yeah. Anybody else? Don't be shy. Cat.
This is a fantastic meditation. You know, as we're learning to love everyone equally, gosh, what a wonderful perspective to be looking at myself through their heart and checking in with how they're feeling, standing in front of me, exchanging with me. So it opens my eyes. And I felt I want to stay in that state all day, just so I can help them feel safe in my presence and supported and filling their needs, you know, based on what I'm looking at right now as I look at me. And I don't know, I think it's a very profound meditation, and thank you for sharing this with us.
Thanks, Shantadeva. Okay. And then after you just
Can you hear me okay?
louder.
Okay. Thank you, Geshe Michael, for giving us this meditation. I also have done it before with Anna Lee. This time I was focusing on a colleague and jealousy. This colleague has shared with me that she's felt jealous before of me. And I hadn't thought too much about that. When I put myself in her shoes, me as my colleague, and looked back at me as me, I saw an arrogant person, and it was pretty uncomfortable. So I get the chance to look at jealousy and pride together, which is up for me. So thank you.
Yeah, nice. Rachana.
Thank you for these wonderful teachings. I unfortunately have a question, which is that I was doing my boss, and I'm in a very strange situation at the moment in my job where everybody thinks my boss is unqualified for his position, and it looks like they might let him go soon. It's to that extent. I'm the only person who treats him well, and he believes that I think he's qualified. And so when I put myself in his shoes, looking back at me, it was almost just like, and you, Brutus, like you also think I'm unqualified? But then when I put myself in my shoes again, then I'm like, then how am I supposed to change what I think of? Like, I'm nice to him, but I kind of also don't think, so should I think he's qualified when I kind of don't think he's qualified?
But you're not talking about me, right? Okay. I'll give a short answer. You know, I spent 19 years in a corporation and in Manhattan, and large company, and I know the politics, and I know the interactions, and I think what happened with me was I started to realize I started to think about what they call it, a group delusion, a group hallucination. So there's this feeling when you're in a group that if everyone agrees with you that the boss is incompetent, then the boss is incompetent. And if, you know what I mean? So if you can just get someone else to agree with you that someone is a problem, then they're really a problem, you know? So the more people who vote for you and your opinion, then the more true it is that your opinion is true. But then if you're a Buddhist logician, I mean, technically everyone can be wrong. And just because more people support a viewpoint in a group doesn't mean it's correct. So I think you have to be, there's a tendency to try to walk around the company and get support for your opinion of somebody. And if you can get 2 or 3 friends to say, yeah, that person's really an asshole, you know, and then you feel like, yeah, I'm right, you know, and they're wrong. So I think that's one tendency. But I think your question is different. If I put myself in your shoes, what you're really asking is if you really do believe they're incompetent, and but you're kind of like the last person that they're hanging on to get support from. What's the Buddhist thing to do? And I think it's that put yourself in their shoes and do your best to find a solution, pung sumba, okay? So I'd like everyone, if you don't take anything else home from this week, take home the idea of pung sumba. Pung sumba means a third option, okay? There's what they want, there's what you want. And then I would like you to get used to thinking of third options. And again, that's, I think, the essence of innovation. Innovation in a company or in a project, in a nonprofit organization. I think innovation is mainly with people. You know, it's okay to innovate a process. Like I innovated X-rays of diamonds. You can detect a fake diamond out of 100,000 diamonds with X-rays. And no one ever used it before for that. And so that's a technical innovation. But I think most innovations are between people, are in your interactions with other people. So I encourage you to think of a pung sumba. So pung sumba means, do I pretend to support them? And do I pretend to espouse the opinion that they are not incompetent? Or do I express my real opinion? And then what you've done is you set yourself up for a dichotomy or 2 choices, yes or no. And I think a great leader and a great employee, a great follower has to learn to pung sumba. You have to find a solution which makes both people happy. And that's the great result of practicing Tonglen and Dakshen Nyamje over a long period of time is the realization that a solution has to serve both people. And it's similar to the principle in negotiation, in a business negotiation. The perfect negotiation ends with both people getting more than they thought they wanted. And interactions with other people should result in both parties getting more happiness than they expected. You know, so how you do that with your boss, that's up to you. By the way, it's not Buddhism to never fire somebody. Okay, I fired a lot of people. The first one was hard. The second one was less hard. But we used to clean out the company every December. because Christmas is 60% of the diamond business. So you build up the workforce, you add about an extra half, 50% extra people, and then you have a purge in January, because there's nobody buys diamond rings in January after Christmas, nobody. So then you just clean out the company, and if you don't, the company fails, and everybody's family suffers. So I'm not saying it's not a Buddhist thing to lose money and ruin a company. If there's someone who's acting up, or somebody's a problem, or a boss is incompetent, then it's not a Buddhist thing to keep an incompetent boss who's hurting everybody. That's not a Buddhist practice. But a Buddhist practice would be to find them a job that's even more interesting for them, where they serve other people happily. You see, I mean, like that. Okay, so that would be a Buddhist practice. Okay, let's get to the text, okay? Otherwise, Uncle Tim's gonna yell at me. You don't know how. When I look at him looking at me, not finishing the book. I know. I like a good story. Okay. I'm on Apr10, okay? LNGAPA. Go to LNGA space. Go to LNGA space PA. Well, you're lost. Let's go to. If you're using my text from yesterday, search for 4-9. 4-9. If you're using my text that I sent out yesterday. You good? Oops. No, look for it again. There you go. Okay, that's where we are. Okay, Ngapa means fifth of the 5 points, which is we finally reached Tonglen. Okay, Tonglen. All right, and Ngapa de la Ten, the beginning there is very important, because ten means depending on or based on what? He says based on that. Based on the 4 steps that came before that, okay? So based on the 4 steps that we've been through, which is what, just for someone who's just tuning in. What was the first step?
Equal rights.
Equal rights. Second one.
The disadvantage.
Yeah, it sucks to take care of yourself all the time. Third, it's fun to take care of other people. 4. Yeah, put yourself in other shoes, okay? And look back at yourself, right? Okay. All right, good. And now we're ready to do Tonglen, okay? Tonglen Gongsul means how do you meditate on Tonglen? And the Tibetan word Gom, there, BSGOM, what's the background meaning of that? Yeah, to get used to something. Okay, so the Tibetan word for meditation is to get used to something. So this week, you should be doing those exchange of yourself and others on 3 levels every day, or it's not Gom. Get it? You don't get used to it, and it doesn't become part of your behavior. The whole point of being in retreat is to do something over and over again artificially, so that when you get out of retreat, it's natural, okay? When you change an attitude from artificial to natural, that's Gom, that's meditation. That's the meaning of meditation. The Sanskrit word is even more sexy. Bhavana. So BHAV means to be. The word be comes from BHAV. So bhav means to be. The ancient Indo-European is BHEU, to become. And then ana means maker. So bhav ana means makes you turn into that. The word for meditation in Sanskrit means a practice which makes you turn into something new. It's very beautiful. The Sanskrit word for meditation, bhavana, means makes you turn into something new. It's very cool. The Tibetan, you develop a habit. The Sanskrit, you become a new person. It's very beautiful. Okay. All right. Gomso Ningje Mikpat Sel Dutene. Ningje means karuna, means compassion. Okay, compassion. What's the pieces of the Tibetan word? Ning is heart, J is like J Rinpoche, king of hearts. It's a beautiful word. Okay. The Sanskrit karuna comes into Russian. Russian is very heavily based on Sanskrit. So Krish, Aftermobil Krish, Dome, Krisha, the roof. And Karuna means to cover somebody or to protect somebody. And that's compassion. It's a beautiful word, Karuna. Ningje Mikpatsel Duten means focus on compassion. When you're feeling compassion, it means you want to land of Tonglen. What's the land of Tonglen? Yeah, that means take, okay, take. So you want to take. The feeling in your heart when you're doing the lemba part, when you're doing the taking part, it should be compassion. You know, I can't bear to see you in pain. You know, I would like to take it away from you, okay? By the way, it is never sacrificial. It is never, so get that out of your head. You know, it's not me or you. It's not somebody has to suffer. It's better if I suffer. That's one of the most irritating, unfriendly practices when someone tells you, you know, someone had to eat the bad donut and I took it, so you didn't have to, you know, and you're like, Jesus, why don't we just split the good one? You know, so you know, it's not this kind of practice where you get to make other people feel guilty that you took the bad thing, and you know, you're supposed to work it out like a good negotiation where both parties come out ahead. Okay, there's not this kind of I will sacrifice what I want and give you what you want. That kind of thinking is primitive. Okay, that's not helpful. Okay, so Tumba Lemba, and then what will be the aspect of the feeling in your mind when you do the Tongwa? Yeah, it's love. It's love. In Tibetan, it's Jampa. In Sanskrit, Maitri. Maitri comes from all these words, mich, which means to mix things, mishat in Russian, to mix with people. Okay, Maitri. Jampe mikpat seltatane. Seltatane means, it's a difficult word. Seltatane means the flavor of the practice should be love, or the flavor of the practice should be compassion. When you're doing tong, when you're taking, it's compassion. When you're giving, it's love. Okay. Jang. What's this? Jang is the Jong in Lojong. Practice. Okay. Get good at it. Okay. Jang means practice. Okay. And then he says it's our Tonglen Nipo Belmar Jang. Say Tonglen Nipo Belmar Jang. Okay, good. Tsawa means the root text. And he keeps quoting books and not telling you what he's quoting. Okay, so luckily you have Grandpa Mike using Grandpa John's database. And I can find stuff, in a few seconds. You can search 3 million pages in less than 3 seconds because of the way we designed it in 1987, whatever. Okay, Tonglan Nipo Pelmajang. Tonglan, Nipo means those two, giving and taking, those two. What's Pelma? We lost a beautiful nun here, the most wonderful person, Pelma. But that's a different spelling. That spelling is DPAL, which means Shri, which means shining because of burning. And my Lama named her for a specific reason, Pelma. But there's a different Pelma, SPEL, which means to alternate. And those of you who have done the lion stance meditation, we practiced Pelma. We practiced jumping between levels, okay? That's kind of an advanced meditation practice where you jump between different levels of subtlety of the mind, okay? Purposely. You come out 2 levels, go deep 3 levels, come back 4, that's called Pelmarjang, okay? What's it mean in Tonglen? Yeah, give, take, give, take, give, take. It's like get used to switching, okay? Get used to switching. And that's called fluency in meditation, okay? And that's a certain Xinjiang, right? Xinjiang. So Xinjiang means like fluency in a foreign language where you speak it with perfect accent, okay? Xinjiang means there's a skill in meditation where you don't just like a dumb ox go as deep as you can. There's where you can play between different levels of focus. You can be creative at one moment, then switch to single pointed, switch to a feeling for all living beings, then switch between them quickly. And that's real mastery of your mind. Okay, that's real meditation. It's not the ability only to go deep. It's the ability to go where you want to go, when you want to go. And that ability leaks out into your everyday life. Like if you're a programmer or something, you can quickly shift focus and go deeper when you have a problem. When you hit a problem, you can pause and go much deeper. And then extracting the mind from the problem and quitting the problem and moving on is also a meditation skill. Okay, so basically what he's saying here is Dalmar Jang means get good at it. Your mind should be, what do you call it? At your beck and call. Yeah, your mind does what you want it to. I like to think of your mind as a puppy that you bought at the pet store, or even better, you picked them up at the animal rescue, and they're kind of untrained and they pee in the house and stuff like that. And then you train the dog, and your mind, before you learn to meditate, is very similar to a bad dog from the animal rescue, and then the whole purpose of meditation is to train your mind and become like a good dog, and to obey what you want and to listen to what you say. Okay, so your mind when you start is like a bad dog, and then the purpose of meditation is to make it more. Why? Well, then you can be more creative in your work situation problem, and you can think of what other people need better. And then the company itself starts to be more successful. If you get a cadre means a small secret group inside the company. If you have a cadre of people doing Tonglen, that company is probably going to be successful. Okay, and they don't have to be Buddhist. you know. Pelma, in fact, was a devout Christian. I went to many Christian classes with her when she started out. And it's not the point to make everybody Buddhist, but the point is to get, if you can, in your company or in your nonprofit organization, if they're all infected with this virus called Tonglen, then the organization becomes wildly successful. Okay, it's kind of beautiful. And they don't have to. We're gonna get a part here where he says he keeps using the word anonymous. Let your Tonglen be anonymous. Okay, don't advertise it. You know, don't go around saying, "Oh, I'm trying to think of what you want." It's hard, you know. You know, you're supposed to do it. It is a tantric practice, sangha. It's a secret practice. It's supposed to be done quietly. Okay. The only way you can tell a person doing Tonglen is that they smile a lot. Okay, they don't talk too much about it. Okay, Shesumba. Deni ngame samba deni gongpel tu chepa o. We are taking the steps we had before and we are magnifying them. Okay, he says step 5, which is exchanging self and others, is an advanced version of the first 4. Okay, it's the natural growth of the first 4. Okay, then Pabongko Rinpoche, in his lecture, he's speaking to a lot of people who spent a lot of time. They didn't have cell phones, so they had to actually depend on their own mind. And they memorized all these books. He just mentions a line, and everybody knows what book he's talking about. We have to look it up. So I looked it up for you. And here's the verses he's quoting. And I'll go straight there. He's quoting the Lojong Dunduma, which is the 7-point Lojong. Lojong means developing bodhicitta. Okay, this lo in Lojong means bodhicitta. Zhong means practice it, get good at it. So Lojong means, it doesn't mean mental training is an exceptionally poor translation. Okay, it's learning to think like a bodhisattva is called lojong. Okay, that's all. Bodhisattva thinking, I don't know, like that. And the Dundunma is a famous 7-point lojong. The tradition says that it existed for many generations and it was practiced secretly and no one wrote it down. And then finally in the 12th century, it was written down probably around 1150 by a Geshe, a Kadampa Geshe named Chikawa. Okay. And he wrote it down. And so here's the verse that Pabongko Rinpoche is mentioning, okay? And I'll just read it to you. Dila yang nyamje nile, nyamshak tu nyamsu langwani, tongla nipo pelmarjang. This is the famous Lojong text. And it says, nyamje nile, if you're practicing equal rights, and what's the second step? Exchange. Equal rights, and then put yourself in the other person's shoes, okay? When he says you're practicing those two, okay? And then you want to do a meditation practice, nyamshak. So nyamshak, go down a little more. More. There you go, the big letters. Okay, I always try to make the font size bigger for the one he's quoting. Okay, so the second line here, nyamshak tu nyamsu lawani, means here's a good practice you can do in samapati for $3. Samapati. balanced meditation, right? Did you say balanced? Okay, between what and what? Between dullness and agitation.
Illness and agitation.
Okay, I'll give you $4. All right. By the way, it's always like this. You watch a guy crossing the Grand Canyon on a rope, you know, the big pole. He's not like just walking like that. He's going, you know, or you watch a person's hands when they drive, they're always moving. In fact, you can tell if a driver is new because they don't move their hands and they tend to go off the road. So, you know, a person who can talk to you and drive like this, you know, then even if it's into a wall, they can, that's an inside Diamond Mountain joke. Okay, so like this, okay? So when they say samapati, it's always like, it's like this. You're always, what do you call that? Correcting as you go, okay? Nyamshak tu nyamsalawani. Then he says, Tongla nipo pelmerjang, okay? Try to alternate between Tongwa and Lemba. Sometimes give, sometimes take, okay? And get good at switching between the two. Get good at the switches, okay? And then that's mastery of your mind. That's Shinjang, okay? All right. Next picture, you guys. They seem to have challenge to get pictures out of these guys. It's a gift, 43.9. Yeah, okay. That's Daniel giving. Okay. They're gonna talk about Tongwa before Lenwa. What's that mean? Giving before taking. You have an option. You can take first, give later, or you can give first and take later. And it's a huge topic in the Lum Room. You know, there's a huge conversation for 1,000 years, and it's beautiful. It's nice to spend the day in those conversations. You know, personally, I like to spend a lot of the day listening to these conversations, okay? It's very inspiring, okay, way to spend your day, unless people interrupt, okay. Here we go, the next paragraph, okay. Tongwa dan lemba nile ngama ngundu chepar chiyik mambale jungyang la klen la chima ngundu chashing Tongwa mi chepar lemba chik tu chepar room. Tongwa dan lemba, he says, look, there's giving and there's taking, okay? There's giving and there's taking, okay? A lot of chiiks, a lot of sources say that you should start with the giving. Okay, a lot of sources say that. Chungyang, Lak Lenla, but in actual practice, I think it's better if you start with the taking. Okay, who's he? Who's I? Okay. He says, you know, I know people, I know there's an opinion that maybe you should do the giving first and then do the taking. I prefer doing the taking first and then doing the giving, okay? Which means which emotion before which emotion? Yeah, compassion before love, okay? Then he says, he says, I would go so far to say that if you are meditating on any particular day and you never get to the Tongwa, it's okay. Okay. He says, I would even go so far to say that if you only do the taking people's problems and you never get to giving them happiness, it's okay with me. Okay. Pabonka Rinpoche. Okay. By the way, he's from the greatest monastery in the universe, which is Saramay. There's 12 or 13 colleges at Saramay. He's from the greatest college at the monastery, which is called Gyalrong, which is your college because you're my student and I'm Gyalrong. So you belong to the very house of the writer of this lam-rim. Okay, so stick up with your house and never think about the other houses. Okay. All right. Tamba Dunya Malangna Dewa Tangyang Mi Pembe. He says, look, and there's the famous example of a kid who falls off their bicycle. Okay. You don't give them candy first and then put a band-aid on their knee. Okay. First you fix the problem and then you give them candy. Because when you give a candy to a kid whose knee is bleeding, it doesn't taste that good to the kid. Okay, so generally, it's a lam-rim principle that you have to take care of other people's hurt before you give them happiness. Okay, and that makes it's logical, right? They can't enjoy the happiness if they're still hurting. Better to take away the hurt first and then give them happiness. Okay, I think a lot of men tend to give their wives, to try to give them happiness without trying to understand them or take away their pain first. They're just like, oh, look, I got you a mink coat, you know? And she's like, yeah, well, I was hoping you'd just come home once in a while, you know, and something like that. Okay. Okay, anyway. Then he gets into razors. Okay, you guys, you got a picture here for me? Yeah, and he's gonna make he wants you, when you do the taking, he wants you to do a heart operation. He wants you to go into the other person's chest and go find the blackness. And in Pabonka Rinpoche's version, you cut it with a razor. Okay, you imagine a straight razor and you cut the blackness out and you take it. Okay, so it has to be a surgical strike. You don't want to take out the heart, you're just taking out the blackness. So it's a very precision thing. Go in and slice off the blackness and imagine that you are slicing it off. Okay, and if you're a man, a male, that's me getting a haircut like a couple of days ago. And this is my favorite barber. His name is Mr. Robbie. And he gives haircuts out on the street in San Diego. And so it's outside. He was a gang member in LA or something. And he learned to cut hair. And he's really good at it. Even someone who doesn't have hair will look like they have hair. And me and Veronica love to go there, and we love to hang out with him. And he plays really good R&B mixes, loud on the sidewalk, and you're in the sunlight, and it's really fun. But anyway, by the way, he's the best Miss MBA. She goes, he's the best entrepreneur I ever met. I can say that. He was living in his car, and now he owns like 3 beauty salons, 4 Mustangs, has a beautiful family. So anyway, he's actually one of the most successful entrepreneurs I know. And so anyway, one day, my wife said, give Michael a shave with one of those straight razors, you know? And I'm like, no, that's okay. You know? And he's like, lathers it up, and then you're going, and when they get near the jugular, which is here, I get really nervous. Like, I don't know. Mr. Robbie says every man should have a straight razor shave once in his life. And I've done it once. And did you ever do it, Rob? No, it just feels too dangerous to me. So I sat through the whole thing. It takes about 45 minutes or something. And anyway, when I think of this Tonglen, and I think of the the lemba, the taking. I always think of Mr. Robbie. And so it's a surgical thing, you know, you go to your heart, you go to the other person's heart, you go inside their body, you go to their heart, and you take the razor of your meditation and you slice off the darkness. Okay, got it? That's the Lamrim way. Okay. All right. De dungya tamche puti tasharwa. Puti means a razor blade, a straight razor. And by the way, they use them every day in the monastery because that's how you shave someone's head. And it's a favorite thing for monks to go out and sit in the sun, and your best friend shaves your head. And they lather it up, and they shave, and you talk about stuff. You talk about how mean is your scripture teacher and stuff like that. And it's a pleasant way to spend like a half hour with your friend. Okay. Dingal tamche puti ta sharwa means to shave. Tar ua nakpu number rangi ningar chenzen la timbersam. Okay. Take slice off their problems as a black light. Ua nakpo is kind of a contradiction of terms. It's a black light. Ua nakpu number in the form. Rangi Nyingar, take it to your heart and feed it to your Rang Chenzin. Feed it to your selfishness. You know, you want to get something from other people? Here, take this. This is their suffering. Okay, you're always trying to get something out of other people, right? Yeah. You want to take care of yourself, right? Yeah. You want to take, right? Yeah. Okay, take their suffering. Okay, here you go. Okay, and it's very cool. The Tibetan is, you know, feed it to your selfishness. You want something from other people? Here, take this. You know, it's very beautiful. The language is very beautiful. Okay, now he's going to describe, and I'd like you to practice this meditation today. Okay, so this is your homework assignment up in the valley. We have a special valley here, which is dedicated to retreat. And by the way, we have a deal with the fort, which is a deal with the federal government and the county government. We cannot build more cabins there, and legally. And so it will always be a retreat valley, and there'll always be quiet, those beautiful cabins there. And they are really beautiful. So you're gonna practice it today, okay? All right, what kind of critter we got out there today? I don't know what that is. Okay, what's that, Jiggy? Oh, it's a quail, okay. All right, next picture, you guys. This is a book, it was one of the first books I ever worked on. It was about the Wheel of Life. It's about a sutra that tells the story of when the Buddha first painted the Wheel of Life. And I translated it with my teacher, I don't know, 45 years ago. Okay, and if you knew Robert Lacey, I don't think you guys knew him. He input the first book for ALL. He typed the first book. It was the catalog to the Kangyo. He typed it in a tiny apartment in the West Village, very dangerous apartment. So he did the drawing, and this was also the first time that Tibetan was ever done on a computer, printed on a computer, was this book. And it was printed on a dot matrix, a laser printer at Bell Laboratories in New Jersey, $1 million laser printer. We snuck in at night and used it. So anyway, we're gonna work through the realms, okay? In the middle of the demon's hands, are the 5 realms of existence, okay? Sometimes drawn as 6, all right? Traditionally, the ancient instruction is Changapa, which means make it in 5 parts, Panchagata. And Sugang has translated an unbelievable text about this wheel. And that's coming out very soon. And we're just doing the last parts of it. But this is a good way to visualize the realms, okay? And we'll talk more about it tomorrow, or sorry, in the next class. But these are the realms of existence inside the wheel, okay? So we're going to be working through the realms. And there's a wonderful treatment in Sugeng's book. Sugeng finished this book 2 years ago. We've been cleaning it for 2 years. And he went on to a very difficult commentary by Vasubandhu, which no one has ever translated. And if you know Vasubandhu, he wrote the Abhidharma Kosha, which is the mother book of all Abhidharma school. This is the first of the 4 schools, okay? The lowest of the 4 Buddhist schools. And Stanley's got a 26-year project. He's 6 years through. That's why we chose a young one. He was young at the time. So we're working through that book. But Vasubandhu was actually a closet mind-only school. He was actually one of the greatest thinkers of the mind-only school. So he wrote an explanation of the Wheel of Life from the mind-only school. And he's the only person who ever did that. And we found it. John Brady's project found it. And it's long and it's extremely difficult. So that's what Sugeng is chewing on now, like a piece of hard leather. Okay, so we'll be going into that meditation, how to do the taking of the suffering. And rather than doing it here at Diamond Mountain or in this retreat online, rather than doing it with one other person, we're going to start out with the 5 realms, okay? We're going to do it for each realm, and that takes some explanation, okay? And that's why you have to tune in for the next show in half an hour. So please take a nice break, and we'll see you guys in half an hour. Okay, thank you. Okay.